Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of the Greater Houston Partnership, Bob Harvey.
It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Partnership's annual State of the City Luncheon featuring Mayor Sylvester Turner. But before I go any further, I want to touch on the recent flooding that has greatly impacted our region. First of all, thanks to all of you for being flexible regarding the rescheduling of today's event. Believe it or not, we actually have more people registered to attend today than we had registered on April 18th. So thank you for being so flexible. I hope all of you stayed dry. But with more than 2,000 homes flooded across our region and a similar number of families that have been displaced, many of you are looking for a way to help those affected by the recent storms. While I'm sure Mayor Turner will say more than in just a minute, let me just mention quickly that Mayor Turner has established the Greater Houston Storm Relief Fund to accept donations specifically aiding storm victims and relief organizations in Harris, Fort Bend, and Montgomery counties. Tony Chase, Chase Source Chairman and CEO and former chair of the partnership, is chairing this initiative, and I know that he and the mayor would appreciate your support. So if you're interested in making a donation, please visit HoustonRecovers.org. And to repeat, HoustonRecovers.org. Tony and his advisory committee will ensure that all corporate and personal donations stay here in the Houston region and directly assist those who are suffering from this disaster. And on behalf of Tony and the mayor, I want to thank the Greater Houston Community Foundation and the United Way of Greater Houston for their help in setting up this fund. Now, moving ahead with the program, please join me in thanking the Houston Police Department Color Guard for their presentation of colors, Minister Jackie Foreman for singing the national anthem, Crystal Lee Estrada of Scroggins Elementary School for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Rabbi David Lyon of Congregation Beth Israel Houston for providing today's invocation. Thank you all for being part of our program. Now, as you all know, the Greater Houston Partnership works to make Houston greater, greater for doing business and greater as a place to live and raise a family. For more than 175 years, going back to 1840, we've tackled the region's most pressing issues. Our scope encompasses the 11-county Greater Houston region, anchored and centered around the city of Houston, with a third of the region's population falling within the city. This is an exciting day as we gather to hear Mayor Sylvester Turner's first State of the City address. Now, the mayor has a deep love for Houston, his hometown. He leads with passion and with a let's get it done, tomorrow will be better than today approach. Mayor Turner, we're delighted that you will be sharing your vision for Houston with us today. Now, the partnership is working with the mayor on several fronts. Mayor Turner called on a number of business leaders to serve on his transition team that made recommendations to him and his staff. Mayor Turner, again, we thank you for giving the business community an opportunity to add our voice to this conversation. Now, one of the key issues we're working on with the mayor is resolving the city's financial challenges. The partnership's Municipal Finance Task Force is led by Mark Watts of the Friedkin Group, and we've been directly engaged on this issue, the issue of municipal finance, for more than 2 years, digging deeply into the details to gain a solid understanding of the issue. Quite simply, the city has a major problem that is going to require a comprehensive solution. Most in this room know about the recent downgrades by Moody's and S&P. These were based on several factors. First, the downturn in oil and gas prices. Second, the limit on city property taxes, often referred to as rev cap. And third, the city's unfunded pension liabilities that we at the partnership estimate to be in the range of $8 to $10 billion. Pension costs dominate our expenses, and they're squeezing out essential city services such as public safety, road repair, and parks. I think we can all agree that the city's current fiscal path is unsustainable. The other thing we can agree on is that we must protect the retirements of our public workers, police, fire, and municipal employees. If we do not come together and forge a comprehensive solution, the security of their retirements are at risk. Now, the mayor has pledged to address this issue in 2016, the current year, knowing that any solution that we arrive at in this community must be taken to the legislature in 2017. We are committed to working with the mayor on a balanced plan that respects employees and taxpayers alike and benefits the city of Houston as a whole. Mark Watts wrote an op-ed recently in the Houston Chronicle outlining the partnership's views on fundamental pension reform. You can find that op-ed on the partnership's homepage at houston.org. Mayor Turner, we commend you for putting forward a balanced budget for fiscal 17 and putting that before City Council, and for committing to undertake fundamental reforms that are needed prior to addressing fiscal 2018. We look forward to supporting your efforts in every way we can. We all know that when Houstonians work together, we come up with solutions that truly move our city forward.
They stopped the song too soon. I had a few moves planned on that one. I tell you. Let me say to Commissioner Cagle, thank you for your very gracious introduction. I'm going to remember Dr. Seuss. But thank you, and I want to thank you for working with me, working with the city on a number of projects. Commissioner Jean Locke has certainly reached out and working with him. Commissioner Mormon is working on some projects with the city as well. It's been my pleasure to work with County Judge Ed Emmett. We can work together, we can work in collaboration, and quite frankly, we are stronger when we work together. So give it up for the county one more time. Let me also acknowledge Chairman of the Board of the Partnership, Jamie Root, for the Houston Texans. And I, too, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. Rick, on February 5th of 2017, where the Texans will be playing somebody. You know. At my church, we say, call those things that are not as though they are. So the Houston Texans will be playing somebody on February the 5th in the Super Bowl. To Bob Harvey, to all of the Consular Corps, to all of the elected officials that are here today, and there are a number of elected officials in this room. I think that's one of the reasons why the number is as large as it is. And then especially to the members of City Council. Let me acknowledge them. I think all 16 members of City Council are here today, and if you will allow me, let me just have them to stand up one more time, the members of City Council. And if you don't tell anybody, these are my most favorite members, all 16 of them. Then the comptroller is here, Comptroller Chris Brown. It's good for him to be here, and we've worked well together. Chris Brown. Thanks, Chris. Let me just start off by saying 2.5 weeks ago, I planned to start this speech with a different emphasis. In fact, the emphasis was going to be on the financial health of our city. But the rainfall and the flooding of April 18th had a dramatic impact on those plans and on our entire region. Hundreds of people sought rescue and hastily opened shelters. Hundreds more elected to stay in their flooded apartments and homes. Nearly 2,000 homes in Houston flooded. Some 2,000 apartment units were flooded, and some flooded homes for the second, third, fourth, and in some cases, seventh times. Property owners throughout our area have become weary of flooding in the Bayou City, have become impatient with elected officials who offer platitudes, explanations with no practical solutions, and some have and others are close to packing up and leaving our city unless we can convince them that we are going to do exponentially more than what they currently see. To that end, I believe there must be a person who reports directly to me, the mayor, and who has the sole responsibility of developing and implementing drainage and flooding strategies that will achieve the singular goal of mitigating the risk of flooding in our city. This Chief Resilience Officer, or Flood Czar, however you choose to refer to this person, will serve as the city's focal point for integrating regional resiliency efforts in the Houston area. He will interact with TxDOT, Harris County, the Flood Control District, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, State of Texas, TERS, super neighborhoods, developers. He will collaborate with city departments to design strategies for resiliency and will lead efforts to revise and update policies and ordinances to mitigate the risks of potential events like the flooding we experienced on April the 18th. I can think of no better person for this role than Steve Costello. Steve is a civil engineer who has worked on numerous drainage projects. He's a former at-large city council member with a passion for our city, and he's someone who I personally believe can help us achieve our objective of reducing the risk of flooding. We can never claim that we will eliminate flooding completely. Quite frankly, that remains in God's hands. But we can, as governmental leaders, do everything we can to mitigate the risk. Steve, thank you for agreeing to serve in this particular position. And Steve is here today. If you'll turn up the lights, where is Steve Costello? Thank you, Steve. Although there is still much to be dealt with in the aftermath of the April 18th storm, I am pleased to report that through your generous contributions and donations to the Greater Houston Storm Relief Fund that is chaired and headed by Anthony Chase, a good friend, we were able to close all Houston shelters in 4 days, moving more than 400 people into temporary housing, and through your collective support, we have assisted thousands of others. City solid waste staff and private contractors completed the first sweep of storm debris removal from in front of people's homes and 17 apartment complexes in the Greenspoint area at an accelerated pace of 2 weeks. In the aftermath of Tropical Storm Allison, it took at least 6 weeks or longer. And we are expediting the permitting process for those seeking to rebuild, and quite frankly, for those seeking to do business in this city. For many people within our Houston region, this will be a long recovery. Many were already on the margins, and this storm exacerbated their problems. And how much they choose to do it by themselves, they're going to require at least some continuous assistance for the short term. Next week, I'll make an announcement in reference to how we can work with faith-based organizations and other people in the entertainment industry to bring additional attention and resources to the Greater Houston Storm Relief Fund. We can focus on the negatives, but the reality is when this storm happened on April 18th, Houston was at its best. It wasn't just police or fire. It was neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping other people that they did not know. Government cannot be everywhere, but when we focus on collective participation, all of us benefit and all of us are better. One of the reasons why I'm proud to be a Houstonian is when times get rough, Houstonians step up and we're at our very best. So on behalf of the entire city of Houston, I want to thank everyone for your participation on whatever level. As a candidate, I promised that we would work to repair reported potholes by the next business day. I sat down with the Public Works Department, the Department of Neighborhoods, 311, and other city departments to discuss how to meet that goal. We changed the definition of a pothole to be 5 feet by 5, instead of the long-standing definition of 2 feet by 2 feet. And as of yesterday at this time, the Public Works and Engineering Department had filled more than 2,750 potholes reported to the 311 system, and they've done it 95% of the time. These citizens reported potholes were repaired by the next business day. But we did not stop there. The Public Works staff did not stop there. And since the first of this year, under my administration, they have proactively filled nearly 16,500 additional potholes defined by 5 feet by 5 feet, not 2 weeks, not a week, but 95% of the time by the next business day. Credit should go where credit is due. And in this instance, the recognition and thanks go to the hard-working city employees who made this possible and continue to make it possible. With me today, and I want to take the time, with me today are 10 Public Works Department employees who have been the boots on the ground for this initiative. And I'd like to invite them to join me on the stage. I want to personally thank each and every one of you and your colleagues who you stand here representing, who have worked to make this a resounding success. Those numbers are impressive and a reminder that working together we can exceed our own expectations. On a Thursday morning, went out to visit the employees at a Public Works station. I took them a lot of donuts and some kolaches. And I asked them whether or not they received donuts and kolaches on a regular basis. I cannot specifically tell you what they said to me because my pastor is in the place today. But I did have to remind them that they were talking to the mayor. But what I indicated to them is that on January the 4th, I made the promise that we would repair and assess and repair potholes by the next business day. I made the pronouncement, but I needed them to make it happen. And I asked them for their help. As much as we may criticize city employees, and much as we may criticize government, let me assure you, government still has a role to play. And in the absence of their work and their labor and their participation, the completion rate would not be achieved. And so I want to thank them for helping this mayor and the members of City Council to keeping their promise with the people of the city of Houston. Thank you so very much. I'm also proud of a number of our city departments, including the Office of Business Opportunity, for their work to create the Turnaround Houston Initiative, a series of resource fairs addressing the barriers to employment that many Houstonians face. It offers access to job training, resume writing, social service agencies, counseling, and intervention to help hard-to-employ Houstonians turn their lives around. It was inspiring to see people walk in unemployed and then walk out with a job and a heightened sense of self-esteem. When I took office 4 months ago today, the assumed budget shortfall in this city was $126 million. Because of declining sales tax and $32.4 million in tax refunds from commercial appraisal lawsuits with hundreds more in the pipeline, the shortfall has grown to $160 million. Our structural financial challenges in 2017 are exacerbated by the property tax cap, the economic slowdown, and rising debt and pension costs. We have taken a thoughtful, multi-pronged approach to solving these problems. In less than 4 months, we have reassessed and reduced city spending through various steps, including stringent limits on hiring for any position other than critical frontline roles, a freeze on pay increases, elimination of vacant positions, targeted layoffs, tighter management of contracts, issuance of my executive order, which calls for new policies and procedures to improve accountability and transparency as we budget and invest the public's money, and working with our TERS board to increase municipal service fees paid to the city to better match the service costs TERS generate. Every department was required to submit reductions of 5 to 7% to their existing budgets for my review, and those reductions were assessed on their impact to vital city services. Where there was an opportunity to refinance city debt to generate meaningful savings, we have done that. Repeatedly, I have emphasized to Houstonians the importance of shared sacrifice by all stakeholders for the financial stability of our city. On April 15, I delivered the City to City Council an executive summary of the budget I will propose on May the 10th. It assumes the very worst, a budgetary shortfall of $160 million. This is the largest fiscal challenge the city has faced since the Great Recession. By bringing all parties to the table to engage in shared sacrifice, including members of City Council, we have closed the budget gap and started addressing the long-term structural imbalance between available revenue and spending, even reducing overall spending from 2016 to 2017 by $82 million. We are eliminating 54 vacant positions, laying off 40 employees, and offering early retirement for up to 100 employees. The good news is that libraries and parks will not be significantly affected by the reductions. We will maintain our commitment to rebuild Houston, the streets and drainage and CIP projects. No police or firefighters will be laid off, and there will be 5 police cadet classes instead of the usual 4. For the first time in many years, the number of police officers at HPD is starting to inch up, and with the added cadet class, we will have more police on the force. In addition, I will announce soon a plan to internally restructure HPD to move 175 police officers out from behind the desk and back on patrol. The proposed budget maintains a fund balance of at least 9.2% of the total budget, well above the required 7.5%. By minimizing the drawdown from the fund balance, we send a positive message to the credit rating agencies that we are already preparing for the 2018 budget. It is my hope that the members of City Council will pass this proposed budget on May 25th without being tagged, a month earlier than usual, to confirm to the credit rating agencies and Houstonians that we are focused on the things that matter most to them. I want to thank each member of City Council ahead of time for representing their districts, working cooperatively with me, and putting the interests of Houston first. But our work is not yet done. The expenditure growth rates above do not include full funding of the city's unfunded obligations. That is why we are moving aggressively to address our long-term challenges with sustainable solutions. We have already met with several times with representatives from the pensions and have initiated productive conversations about how to rein in our pension obligations in a manner that is least burdensome to employees, reduce the city's escalating costs, and does not produce unintended consequences that would jeopardize the health and public safety of all Houstonians. There are 3 specific objectives that I've laid out for pension reform. 1, we must reduce the unfunded pension obligations now and in the future. 2, the annual cost, the ARC, the city is obligated to pay must go down now and in the future. And 3, we must have an agreement by the end of this year for the legislature to enact in the 2017 session. I am under no illusions that this will be easy, but I am confident that as Houstonians, we can get there. There are certain realities that cannot be ignored. The increasing costs of the city simply cannot be sustained. We cannot afford not to reach this deal. If we do not reach an agreement this year, come fiscal year 2018, city services will be adversely affected. Hundreds of employees will be laid off, and our credit rating will likely suffer, costing us even more. But this is a course we need not travel. My mom said, tomorrow will be better than today. And as mayor of this city, I still believe what she said. I appreciate the police, municipal workers, and firefighters who have recognized the status quo must change and are willing to move away from previously held fixed and non-negotiable positions. And I appreciate all agreeing to work with me to achieve meaningful and sustainable cost reductions to the pension system now and into the future. Assuming a resolution is reached and enacted by the legislature, I shall ask each of you, the partnership, and all Houstonians in November of 2017 to remove the revenue cap imposed in 2004, which has been repeatedly criticized by all credit rating agencies. No other local governmental authority in this state is operating under similar constraints of population and inflation. The state of Texas, of which I was a part as a legislature for 26 years, on the Legislative Budget Board since 2003 to 2016, helping to set the spending limits for the state of Texas. No other state, not even the state of Texas, is governed by a similar revenue cap either. We are a growing, developing, dynamic city with 3 million more people estimated to move into our region over the next 15 years. We are competing not just against Dallas or San Antonio or Austin, not just against New York or Los Angeles or Chicago, but against Vancouver, Berlin, and the Singapores of the world. We are an international city speaking 142 plus languages with 92 consulates and 2 international airports within our city boundaries. We are growing and dynamic, and we must be sure that the growth and prosperity reach all Houstonians. Unfortunately, that is currently not the case. We are becoming 2 cities in one, a city of many contrasts. There are signature parks like Herman Memorial, Discovery Green, and Buffalo Bayou. And then at the very same time in our city, there are neighborhood parks desperate for swings and playground equipment. There are neighborhoods with abundant and robust retail, grocery stores, and transit options. But there are also neighborhoods with food deserts, little or no retail, and dependent on transit. There are areas that are described as opportunity districts, but yet are opposed to the addition of new multifamily housing for various reasons. And then there are communities where blue tarps from Hurricane Ike still dot the rooftops of single-family homes, and many apartment complexes stand abandoned and open to criminal activity. I want to thank Councilwoman Stardick for being a champion in removing abandoned buildings, and I want to thank all members of City Council for working to restore our neighborhoods. The revenue cap works against creating one Houston with opportunity for all and an ability to address pressing needs like flooding, transportation, which I will talk about at the TAG luncheon on May the 17th, and mobility, parks and added green space, affordable workforce housing, and homelessness. Some may look at the homeless individuals on our streets and just see nameless faces. I, on the contrary, see mothers, fathers, and children suffering from mental illness, substance abuse, and other very personal issues. My administration will resist the temptation of ineffective fixes such as putting these people in jail. We will instead commit our energies to the long-term solutions that have helped our city lead the nation in addressing homelessness. Let me tell you a little bit about George Allihawk, a homeless gentleman who had been coming to the Houston Public Library, the Carnegie Center, almost every week for 6 months. This homeless, dirty, unshaven man was an aircraft mechanic with years of experience with the Aerospace Center and the former Continental Airlines. A bad break happened and George ended up with nothing and on the streets of the city of Houston. The library staff helped him edit his resume and apply for various jobs. When he didn't have money to print the resume, they printed his resumes for him. They assisted this homeless man in every way they could. George recently returned to the Carnegie Center to let them know that he had been offered a job and a signing bonus for a position in Oklahoma with an aircraft support company that provides services to aerospace and defense industries. He showed them his Greyhound ticket and said, quote, "It's over, and I'm ready to go." Merely maintaining our momentum is not enough. I will work with the private sector, faith-based organizations, and other nonprofits to achieve a long-term goal of effectively housing Houston homeless. We will do it not for the NC Final Four or the Super Bowl, but because we are Houston and we are a city of hope, inspiration, and opportunity. Lastly, I want to make a personal appeal for your companies to join the Hire Houston Youth Summer Jobs Program and hire our kids for the summer. The program runs from June 13th through August the 6th, and the cost to you is just $3,000 per job offered. Please visit hirehoustonyouth.org for more details and to sign up to participate. Please bear in mind, these are our children, and they represent the future workforce for your businesses. Since word has spread about the program, kids and their parents have been contacting us seeking employment. The city of Houston is able to offer 450 jobs, but more than 2,000 have already applied. For many of these teens, a summer job is where they will learn their work ethic, the importance of showing up on time, the value of earning a paycheck, and in some cases, they will see a Houston they have never seen. I hope and pray to the extent God has blessed you and your companies that you will extend that blessing to thousands of our youth. Fill out the card on your table or visit hirehoustonyouth.org and sign up to sponsor a summer job for our kids. Remember, it is not equal in giving, but equal in sacrifice. When I was elected mayor, there were many who said I was coming into office at the worst time. They said the city is broke, Sylvester, has huge pension problems, the streets are in horrible conditions, and the city is badly divided. They did not envy my role. Now and then, I ask myself what the Allen brothers would say to those very same people. What would Sam Houston or those who laid the blueprint for the medical center or the Port of Houston or Johnson Space Center say to those people? I don't know exactly what they would say, but I do know what Eddie and Ruby Turner would say. And they would say, Sylvester, life is not fair, but you have to learn to navigate through it. And tomorrow will be better than today. And though they did not graduate from high school, they knew the importance of education. They purchased books from every salesperson who knocked on the Turner door, from encyclopedias to Britannicas and many others. And when I had to give a report in school, at school about my summer vacation, I traveled through the pages of those books and wrote my paper as if we had actually gone to those very same places. My life is a testimony that facing challenges is our life story, but creating opportunities is life's reward. I pray that you will join me, and together, let's build a city of opportunities that excels beyond our wildest expectations. The good book says that our eyes have not seen, our ears have not heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love the Lord. Well, let us love the city as well. This is our city, let's love it. This is our city, let's protect it. This is our city, let's invest in it. And in the process, may God bless us all.
Take off.